Hello and welcome to Tech Talk with me, Pranjal Sharma. Today I'm in conversation with Dr. Ajai Chowdhry, co-founder of HCL and also a pioneer of the Indian technology industry. Ajay, thanks for being with us. Several decades ago, you were among those who created and laid the foundation for India's IT sector. But you were also at HCL beginning, you were creating the foundations for hardware as well. But if I look at IT for the moment, it looks like after several decades of a very successful business model, there is time for reinvention with low end coding becoming automated. How do you see the changes that the industry has to face today?
Well, actually, it's quite obvious that AI and automation are serious headwinds to the IT services industry. The IT services industry has done brilliantly well for us with $280 billion worth of exports, without which India would be in serious trouble. Now, there's no way you can replace 280 billion. So we need to do something different. And I think we need to adopt and adapt to the changing environment of AI and automation. So certain areas where automation is going to impact will be areas like coding and the BPO industry, the call center industry, all of that will get impacted. And that is going to happen quite fast. It's not going to be something that will happen in next 2 years. It will happen quite fast. So as this is all happening, the IT industry has to do a lot of introspection in terms of where the market is. Because at the end of the day, it's all about market backwards. So a lot of the IT industry companies are today have retrained a lot of people around AI. And more are doing that. So around AI, we'll have to find opportunities globally to be able to create newer business to replace the business that's going away.
In some ways, Ajay, it was also low cost labor arbitrage of sorts, where because we had talent at high quality but low cost, but also high quantity, Indian IT companies could offer a lot of manpower. But today, manpower is not an advantage. So even though they are retraining, the net result would be that a fewer number will be retrained for AI, as you suggest.
No. I think if you start to look at the industry last 10 years, the industry went up in the value chain. It never stayed at the low end. And it started to be a consultant to global companies. If they had a problem, we could go and solve that problem. We would pick up the problem and create a solution for it. So originally when we started, it was all labor arbitrage. All that has changed. The reason why it changed, one very major reason was quality. If you look at 20 years ago, we were the first in the world to actually go after the CMM level 3, level 4, etc., to establish very high quality delivery from India. Then we went after creating an offshoring model. Okay, all those things happened. The next phase of it has been a very consultative creation of business with large corporates globally who are looking for us to go and add value to the business that they were doing. So it was not just about converting something to using computing and software, etc. It was all about adding value to their business. So, for example, we would go to marketing and say, this is what we can do for you. We went to manufacturing and said, this is what we can do for you. Till before that, it was them telling us what they want from us. As we kept growing better and better capability happened in the world, in the country, we started advising them on what should be done. So last 8-10 years, we have been in a very different position, away from that low cost business to being an advisor to large corporates. And a lot of the work has been moved from onshore to offshore. That is the way it happened 10-15 years ago. Last 5 to 7 years, a large number of countries started asking for nearshoring. So a lot of us actually started to work on creating centers outside India, closer to the customer. So we adopted to the requirements of the customer. Customer said, I want some 50 people located in Poland so I can call them tomorrow. Those kind of things happened. So these changes India has taken up very brilliantly. But now we are faced with a totally different problem. What we are faced with is that a lot of the low end work we don't need to do anymore. So we have to upgrade our capability and skills in this new AI world. And I must tell you, a large number of companies have adopted to this in a very good way. All of them have actually started creating a large number of AI people within the organization. It's not happened yesterday. It's happened in the last 2 to 3 years. 2022 was when OpenAI came up with ChatGPT and changed the world. From then onwards, this change has been much faster, and adoption of AI within the organizations, retraining has taken off in a very big way.
So you're saying that many changes are already happening within the companies, but it also means that the competition for the sector today can come from many other parts of the world, because in some way AI is a great egalitarian option, and it's a great leveler, because a bunch of smart young people in any part of the world can create an AI based solution. So the advantage that perhaps India had, do you think that advantage still remains, or what is needed now to make sure that we have a fresh set of skills and advantages?
You see, there's been a lot of talk about LLMs, right? LLMs have happened. A lot of them are open.
But very expensive and costly effort.
Yeah, very, very expensive and costly, but then some of them are open also. The Chinese have created very open systems also, and more are happening. What India needs to do at this stage is to take those LLMs and build on top of those. We don't need to do our own LLMs. The government wants to do for strategic benefits, for a long-term thinking in terms of having our own LLMs. I see nothing wrong with that. We need to do both. But our capability lies in applications. And that is where our strength has always been. So if we can apply AI to medicine, we can apply AI to clinical testing, we can apply AI to different areas in the world, which is where we have been very good at doing.
But do you think companies, the traditional IT companies, will have it in themselves to reorient their entire structure, processes, organization to be able to adopt and adapt to this new reality? Because you also see a completely new ecosystem of smaller companies, younger companies, a group of maybe 10 or 20 smart technology creators who are not necessarily looking at size, but looking at impact, and therefore they are able to be more successful.
You see, it's like this. Our industry has faced many of these conversions. It's not only one. Year 2000 happened when we started with bare minimum. And then we started expanding and growing up and doing right up to consulting, as I talked about. So these kind of changes have also happened. Now, let's not just look at the industry as as something which is the same all over, right? So within the IT industry, there is a segment which is infrastructure management, right? Part of it will get impacted by AI, but part of it will not, because infrastructure management still needs to be done remotely. Then you start to look at engineering and R&D services. Very large segment of our our companies are doing engineering and R&D exports. That's not going to get impacted. That can actually grow because people want to invest more in R&D globally. Because when it becomes a unipolar world, everybody wants to do more R&D. Okay, so engineering and R&D is not an issue, right? The third area that has been there is the whole area of BPO. Yes, that will get impacted, right?
But that's a big segment.
It's not that large. I don't think we need to worry about the call center piece, because a lot of the call center business has been already going away to Philippines. It's low end. We don't need to worry about those. So I think what we have to have in mind is this new model of working. And in this new model, we need to use AI to deliver applications.
That's
Because
the other piece
yeah,
about, I mean, we see the challenges for professionals which are working in US and other parts of the world. And I think that entire focus on that H1B based model, I think that needs to be reassessed as well, isn't it?
So now, what should be the new model? Is the question you were asking me. We have to realize that AI and automation are going to impact the services business. There's no doubt about it. The numbers can reduce. And under these circumstances, what should we do? So, one of the things that HCL started to do 5, 7 years ago was to move into products. Okay, so HCL has now created HCL Software, which is the country's largest software product company with $1.5 billion worth of revenue. Okay, so and it's the 18th largest in the world in terms of size. Zoho is pretty close to it. So this change that has happened in software needs to be accelerated.
So that means the entire industry has to now reorient itself, and it's an old argument for several years that how does Indian industry now focus towards product
Correct.
and not services? But what will it take for the industry and individual companies to make that effort? What will be the changes that they will have to go through to achieve this objective?
It's a mindset change also. The mindset has been very services oriented all over the country, whichever services you look at. We as a country need to change our mindset to invest into R&D and become a product nation. To be a product nation, we need to identify technologies and areas where we can excel. So, group of us, about 20 of us, have set up a think tank, and we identified 12, 14 areas where we should definitely focus on. The whole idea here is that we now need to put money behind creating technologies. And why do we need to put money behind creating technologies? Is because we need to be wary in this unipolar world of losing control. Because if other countries are controlling the technology and you have no technology of your own, you are in trouble over the next 10 to 15 years. So I think this whole effort as a country, we need to, in addition to services, have a product business and product mindset. The mindset is the biggest challenge. People don't think product in this country. We are a country of traders. We go to China, pick up a product, put a logo on top of it and market it and make that 10, 12%. But we are missing out on the 40, 60% margin which is sitting on products. And that is where as a country we should be. Why should we be there? Because we have the knowledge and the capability.
So you're saying that there needs to be a reinvention and a change in mindset. But apart from that, an enterprise, its leadership, its board, its investors, its employees, they need to change the way that they work, their processes, their structures. If you can break it down, what should a business leader do to make sure that his or her company is now oriented towards products? Do you think they need to look at completely new departments? They need to get a new set of talent or reorient? What is the way out of this?
You see, one is for software companies to create software products. Okay, that is an effort that some of them have already done. TCS has done that. Wipro has done that. Infosys has done that. To a smaller extent, of course, HCL has done it in a very much bigger way. But this is not something that we cannot do. The real issue is product management and product thinking. The way how you make a product is totally different from services. So the people who actually did services work are not capable of doing just the product work. They need to be reoriented and even add newer people who will have the thinking of product rather than thinking of services. See, services, in the services area, you get a project, you write the code and do the solution, you deliver it, your job is over. In the product area, it's not like that. In the product, it's a living organism. Moment you make a product, you need to keep on upgrading it, providing maintenance for it, providing support for it, creating a product management thinking that is so different from the services thinking. So my view is that we should not ignore services. We must adopt to a new environment of AI, but we should add a new segment, which is product nation as a country. And it's not necessary in IT. It has to be in many areas. Let us take, for example, we want to develop space tech in India. A lot of startups are there, but how many corporates have entered it? Hardly one or two. They need to think about it as well. Similarly, medtech. Lots of startups are designing and making medtech products in India with newer technologies, new electronics, using AI and all of that. How many corporates are doing that? So this is the problem that the country faces today.
But that could also be the solution, Ajay, that we see a situation where a new generation of companies will be, which are perhaps product first companies, they will lead the way forward to convert this opportunity into reality and make India also a product nation.
That is started already. A large number of startups today, which are sort of called deep tech, all of them are in this business. So you have space tech, you have med tech, you have drones, you have two-wheeler EVs. Whole bunch of these companies are existing today in startups. There are close to a couple of thousand there. That alone is not good enough. The environment is missing. The environment of the VC to invest in deep tech is missing. And that is where the challenge is for the country. Reason for it is that our VCs in India are used to getting into a company when it's already revenuing. That is, they have got a product, they have got revenues happening, and they are going to scale. At the scaling level, the VCs enter. They don't enter at the seed level. But for deep tech, the requirement is completely different.
Patient capital.
You need to have entry at deep tech level. You go to the US, a company who has just thought about a product and created some kind of a concept on that product and has assembled a team, VC will invest. They'll put $20-30 million at the entry level. No Indian VC does that. So to change that, the government has to step in. And that's what the government is doing today. For example, I chair the quantum mission. When I looked at this problem for startups in the quantum mission, I very clearly realized that serious R&D is required to be done. So if we give them 20 lakhs and 30 lakhs and 1 crore and 5 crores, not good enough. So we decided in the National Quantum Mission to give funding up to 30 crores per startup, and in special cases up to 50 crores. Reason for it is that if we don't do that, we'll never develop them.
And that's the kind of commitment for long term that you have, which is not growth oriented but return oriented in terms of the return on impact.
That's right. Return of impact and long term development of IP in the country, ownership of technology in the country, what I call tech sovereignty. Okay. So, for example, now the government has come up with this 1 lakh crore fund that was announced in the last budget. Out of that, 20,000 crores has already been placed this year in DST. They will create a new organization parallel to the ANRF, which will be an organization that will look at, ANRF will do TRL 1 to TRL 4, Technology Readiness Level 1 to Technology Readiness Level 4. This new organization, which is thought to be run in a very different way, the government wants to put money into private sector for the first time. Okay, this money will be put into corporates, into SMEs, and to startups at the entry level. So this 1 lakh crore that has been sanctioned by the government is a very interesting model. What the Prime Minister said was, this 1 lakh crore is for 50 years interest free. That means much bigger than 1 lakh crore. So this particular organization is where I have a lot of hope for making India a product nation.
So this kind of long-term commitment, Ajay, is what is required, that you give 30 crores, you give 50 crores, but you wait for that team to get deep into it and develop something worthwhile and not be under the tyranny of, the quarterly results and ROI immediately.
Absolutely right. And you should also be prepared for out of 10, 5 will fail. Doesn't matter.
That culture of failure also needs to be
Yeah.
embraced.
I think that is something that is being planned in this organization. Government has deeply understood the problem. It's the first time the government is attempting to do this. And they've understood this problem. So they are very clearly investing for the future to make India a product nation. And we need to be clear that we need to be able to have top 5 companies or 10 companies who will be among the top 5 in the world 15 years from now. And it is going to be in the private sector, it's not going to be in the public sector.
And this is what's going to give strategic autonomy and tech sovereignty, which you are talking about.
Absolutely correct. This is the way we have to go. The funding will be provided by a group of technical people and business people. It's not like a fund of funds at all. That's the big difference. That is why it is sitting in the science ministry. Because you first need to approve the science before you put the money. Fund of funds, they look at returns. Here, that is a very different model.
And here it's also that, if you have technologists, business leaders like yourself who are overseeing giving these investments, there is also a built-in agility, because every 6 months there is a new wave of technological change, which allows you to embrace that and accept that, because sometimes the government rules are stuck in a situation where they don't. By the time they want to change to a new technology, it's too late.
There's another issue. There is the issue of problems for doing research in this country. What are the problems in doing research in this country, in public sector today? Those guys can't buy equipment when they want to. They have to go through GFR rules. They can't hire people at market salaries. All those issues will get sorted out in this old model, because you have to have people from market salaries. And there's one major opportunity that is staring at us today. If we can grab it, we can genuinely succeed, which is thousands of researchers in America have lost their jobs and research funds. Hey, those guys are sitting there. Get them here. And if we give them the environment and the funding, we can succeed. How did Israel succeed? Israel succeeded because they got a whole bunch of Russian Jews who came back and became part of Israel to create technologies. We can get that done by Indians who have been let go in research. Thousands are there in America today. Great time for us to get them back. For years, we have talked about getting diaspora back. That opportunity didn't exist till now in a big way. But today, it's big.
Would you say that there should now therefore be a strategy and a plan to get this talent back into India, and not just bring them back, harness them into this program?
Absolutely correct. And it's not that only Indians can come into India. We should not think like that. People who have lost their jobs in America could be non-Indians also, could be Europeans, could be East European, could be Russian, could be Americans themselves. Create the environment and bring them here. This thinking has to change. If we continue to think the old way, that we have to make do with what we have, alone, it won't alone help. So this is where I think I have some ideas here. For example, some of the private universities need to be harnessed. They don't have any issues about setting up an environment. They don't have any issues about paying salaries. They are already at a very high level in terms of capability and skills. They can be harnessed. So look at Plaksha University, Shiv Nadar University, Azim Premji University, private universities, TCG Crest located in Calcutta. They're all great opportunities for us to have a house where they can be housed. Number two, we can again talk to our existing software companies. The software companies have enough funds available with them. Why can't they invest in research for tomorrow? So, for example, quantum is a great area for an HCL or a Wipro or TCS or Infosys to invest. And the good news is that some of them are already interested in quantum technology.
And we need to add
talk to them and say, let's go and do this in quantum. Let's do this in semiconductors. Let's draw these capabilities from the world and create a totally new environment by which we can leapfrog.
So you think that, my final question and point with you, that we are now poised where a constructive, positive and optimistic approach can help us make the most of the situation today.
Absolutely correct. And the good news is that the government is invested in it, right up to the Prime Minister, because otherwise they would never have sanctioned 1 lakh crore for something like this. For the first time, we are thinking about putting public money into private. And I want to identify maybe 25, 30 corporates and tell them, guys, invest into product development. And they can also, by the way, become motherships. Look, Cisco bought 500 odd chota companies and became so huge. We can also house some of our startups inside this mothership. For example, you look at the 4G, 5G stack developed by Tejas. Would BSNL have placed an order on Tejas? No. They placed an order on Tatas because it was Tatas. So the Tatas, the Mahindras, the Birlas, these guys also need to be now inculcated into becoming part of this journey of becoming a product nation.
And as is said, every company today is a technology company, so they cannot say that I don't want to be there.
Absolutely. I mean, some of them like Reliance and Adani have already invested into hydrogen, etc. So it's not that they are not doing anything. Reliance has gone and bought loads of companies from the world to get into that business. That's another model for us to look at. Another model that we are looking at within this whole 1 lakh crore thinking is to even do acquisitions from countries which are aging countries like Japan and Korea, etc., etc. Great opportunity.
Ajay, thank you so much for joining us. There's so much more we can discuss, but we come back again. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.